the shadow of the Vatican. 1 week after the snowbound night in the courtyard, the winter of 1278 tightened its grip on the kingdom, the cathedral's spires piercing a sky heavy with frost. I, Aelis, stood in the trial hall, my hands clasped before me, the coarse weave of my repair scratching my skin. The air was thick with the scent of melting wax and suppressed fear, the candle's flames casting trembling shadows across the stone floor. My mission to drive my dagger into Duke Kaler's heart wavered under the memory of his touch in the blizzard, his words a haunting echo. You know nothing of my secrets, Aelis. But if you value your life, you'll stop chasing them. Now, Seymour's accusation of heresy pinned me in this hall, my identity as a teetering on exposure, and Kaler's gaze steady, unreadable held me captive. The trial hall was a fortress of judgment, its arched ceiling lost in gloom, the stone pillars standing like silent inquisitors. Rows of candles lined the walls, their light fractured into a mosaic of gold and shadow, illuminating the faces of clergy and nobles, their eyes glinting with suspicion. Seymour, the trial's master, stood at the podium, his black robes swallowing the light, his voice a venomous blade. Aelis, false sister, he declared, holding aloft a forged letter, its wax seal broken, you stand accused of heresy, of defiling this sacred house with your lies. His words were a trap, each syllable honed to expose me, to force Kaler's hand. I kept my gaze low, my heart pounding, the weight of my hidden dagger a cold comfort beneath my robe. The resistance had trained me to lie, to kill, but nothing prepared me for this, the pull of Kaler's presence, the danger of his protection. He sat at the hall's head, enthroned in black gold, his face a mask of authority, but his gray-blue eyes betrayed a flicker of something deeper, concern, perhaps, or defiance. Aelina, his betrothed, sat nearby, her fox fur cloak gleaming, her lips curled in a smile that promised ruin. Her suspicion, sparked in the tower, now fueled Seymour's attack. Speak, heretic. Seymour's voice cut through the murmurs, sharp and commanding. Confess your sins, or let the fire cleanse you. He gestured to the letter, claiming it bore rebel sigils, proof of my treachery. The crowd's whispers swelled, a tide of judgment, but I raised my eyes, meeting Kaler's gaze. I needed him to act, to trust the fragile bond we forged in the snow, but I feared his loyalty to the church would outweigh his doubt. I am no heretic, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. Your evidence is a fabrication, trial master. I serve God and this cathedral. The lie tasted bitter, my mission screaming in my mind, kill Kaler, and the church's grip. But his touch, his rescue, had muddied my resolve, and now I stood defending myself to save us both. Seymour's smile was a serpent's, his eyes glinting with triumph. Lies from a false sister, he sneered, turning to Kaler. Duke, you preside over this trial. Will you let her deceit taint your honor? His words were a challenge, daring Kaler to expose me or protect me. The hall fell silent, the candles crackled deafening in the pause. Kaler rose, his presence commanding, his boots echoing like a war drum on the stone. Every eye followed him, but his gaze locked on mine, piercing through my veil of lies. This trial is premature, he said, his voice low, resonant, a blade cutting through Seymour's venom. The evidence is unverified. Aelis remains under my protection until proven guilty. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Aelina's face twisted, her hands gripping her chair, her voice sharp as she stood. Kaler, you shield a heretic? She demanded, her gold hair catching the candlelight like a halo of rage. Before your betrothed, before the church? What is she to you? I froze, my breath catching. Her words were a dagger, aimed at Kaler's honor, and I saw the pain flicker in his eyes, a crack in his armor. I shield justice, he snapped, his tone cold as steel. Your accusations, Aelina, lack proof. Sit down. His commands silenced her, but her eyes burned into me, promising vengeance. Seymour's face darkened, but he bowed, his deference a mask for his fury. "As you wish, Duke," he said, his voice smooth as poison. But the church-south eyes never close. His gaze slid to me, a promise of pursuit, and I knew my time was running out. Kaler gestured for me to follow him to a side chamber, away from the crowd's scrutiny. The corridor was dim, lit by a single torch, its flame casting our shadows in a dance of light and dark. My heart raced, the weight of his protection a chain I both craved and feared. He stopped, turning to face me, his expression a storm of resolve and doubt. "Why do you test me, Aelis?" he asked, his voice low, urgent. "Seymour's no fool. He'll find your truth." I stepped closer, defiance masking my fear. "And you, Kaler? Do you seek my truth, or do you fear it?" My words were a challenge, a plea, the memory of his touch in the snow burning between us. His hand reached out, brushing my arm, a fleeting contact that sent fire through my veins. "I fear nothing," he said, his voice a whisper, his fingers lingering. "But you, Aelis, you re a danger I can't resist." His touch was a sin, a promise, and I wanted to lean into it, to let the world burn for this moment. But a sound interrupted, a soft creak, the rustle of fabric. I turned, catching a glimpse of Eilena's shadow retreating down the corridor, her presence a silent betrayal. That night, in my cell, a folded parchment slipped under the door, a message from Kaler, written in his sharp hand, "Meet me at midnight. The archive holds the church's secrets. Trust me." My heart stilled. He was offering a path forward, a chance to expose Seymour, but it meant stepping deeper into his world, his rebellion. I clutched the note, the candle in my cell flickering, its light reflecting in the dagger I'd hidden anew. Seymour's trap was closing, Eilena's betrayal loomed, and Kaler's trust was a flame that could save or consume me. As the cathedral's bells tolled midnight, I knew my choice would reshape our fate. Broken vows. The 5th day of 1278 dawned in the cathedral's trial hall, where the air hung heavy with the scent of wax and fear. I, Aelis, stood at the center of the stone chamber, my wrists bound by coarse rope, the weight of my hidden dagger long gone confiscated by Seymour's guards. The trial was a farce, a stage for Seymour to brand me a heretic, but my heart pounded not for the noose but for Kaler, the duke who presided over my fate. His gray-blue eyes had haunted me since the snowbound courtyard 3 nights ago, his touch a forbidden flame that burned through my resolve. "You know nothing of my secrets, Aelis. But if you value your life, you'll stop chasing them." His words echoed in my mind, a warning I hadn't heeded, and now I stood exposed, my mission teetering on the edge of ruin. The hall was a cavern of shadows, its arched ceiling lost in gloom. Candles lined the walls, their flames flickering like dying stars, casting jagged patterns on the faces of the gathered clergy and nobles. Seymour, the trial's orchestrator, stood at the podium, his black robes swallowing the light, his eyes glinting with venom. Beside him, Eilena, Kaler's betrothed, sat with her fox fur cloak draped like a throne, her lips curled in a smile that promised ruin. Kaler, enthroned at the hall's head, was a statue of authority, his black gold cloak pooling like ink, his expression unreadable. Yet, I caught the flicker in his gaze, a storm beneath the calm, as if he, too, stood on trial. "Heretic." Seymour's voice sliced through the murmurs, sharp as a blade. "Aelis, false sister, you stand accused of defying the church's sanctity. Speak, or let fire cleanse your sins." His words were a performance, each syllable dripping with calculated malice. He held up a forged letter, its wax seal broken, claiming it as proof of my ties to the resistance. The crowd gasped, their whispers a rising tide, but I kept my eyes on Kaler, searching for a sign, any sign that he would intervene. I straightened, the ropes biting into my wrists, and let my voice ring clear, defiant. "Your evidence is a lie, Trial Master Seymour. I am a servant of the church, nothing more. My words were steady, but my pulse raced. The resistance had ordered me to kill Kaler, yet here I was, defending myself to save him and myself from Seymour's trap. The irony tasted like blood. Seymour's smile widened, a serpent bearing fangs. Lies? Then explain the blade found in your cell, etched with rebel sigils. Or shall we ask the Duke to judge your truth? He turned to Kaler, his tone mocking, daring him to act. The hall fell silent, the candles crackled deafening in the pause. Kaler rose, his presence commanding, his boots echoing on the stone floor. Every eye followed him, but his gaze locked on mine, piercing through the mask I'd worn as Sister Aelis. Enough, he said, his voice low, resonant, like a bell tolling doom. This trial ends now. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Eilena's face paled, her hands gripping her chair. Seymour's eyes narrowed, but he held his tongue, sensing a shift in the game. Kaler descended the dais, his cloak sweeping the floor, and stopped before me. The air between us crackled, heavy with the memory of our snowbound encounter, his hand on my cheek, his warmth against the storm. I wanted to hate him, to draw the phantom dagger I no longer held, but my heart betrayed me, yearning for the man I was meant to destroy. Aelis, he said, his voice softer now, meant for me alone, you are under my protection. No fire will touch you. His words were a vow, spoken with the weight of a man defying his own gods. The crowd erupted in whispers, but I barely heard them. His hand brushed mine as he signaled the guards to cut my ropes, his touch fleeting but electric, igniting a fire in my chest that no blizzard could quench. Kaler. Eilena's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and venomous. She rose, her gold hair catching the candlelight like a halo of rage. You dare shield a heretic? Before your betrothed, before the church? Her words were a blade, aimed at his honor, and I saw the flicker of pain in his eyes, a crack in his armor. I shield justice, Kaler snapped, his tone cold as steel. Seymour's evidence is flawed. This trial is a mockery. He turned to the crowd, his voice rising. Aelis is no heretic. She remains under my authority until proven otherwise. The hall exploded in murmurs, nobles and clergy divided. Seymour's face twisted, but he bowed, his deference a mask for his fury. Eilena stormed from her seat, her skirts hissing across the floor, and as she passed me, her whisper was a dagger in my ear. You'll burn for this, sister. He can't save you forever. The guards released me, and Kaler gestured for me to follow him to a side chamber, away from the crowd's eyes. The stone corridor was dim, lit only by a single torch, its flame casting our shadows in a dance of light and dark. My wrists ached, raw from the ropes, but the pain was nothing compared to the storm in my heart. Kaler stopped, turning to face me, his expression a mix of fury and something softer, something dangerous. Why did you do that? I demanded, my voice trembling with anger and fear. You've made me a target, Kaler. Seymour 1T stop, and Eilena I cut myself off, my breath hitching. His protection was a chain, binding me to him, to this forbidden pull that threatened to unravel everything. He stepped closer, his shadow swallowing mine. I saved you because I must, he said, his voice low, urgent. But don't mistake this for mercy, Aelis. I know what you are. His eyes searched mine, and I saw the truth. He suspected my mission, my blade, my lies. Yet, he hadn't exposed me. Why? Before I could speak, a messenger burst into the corridor, breathless. My lord, the resistance they've sent a message. They demand your head, and hers, by dawn. The words hung like a guillotine, and Kaler's face hardened. He grabbed my arm, pulling me into a secluded alcove, his grip firm but not cruel. The torchlight flickered, painting his face in shades of fire and shadow. Tell me, Aelis, he whispered, his voice a blade pressed to my heart. Are you their assassin, or something more? I froze, my mission and my heart at war. The Resistance's demand echoed in my mind, but his touch, his nearness clouded my resolve. I could lie, flee, or confess, but each path led to ruin. You saved me, I said, my voice breaking, but for whose sake goddess, or yours? His eyes darkened, and for a moment, I thought he might kiss me, sealing our doom in this shadowed corner. Instead, he released me, stepping back, his voice cold as the stone around us. Choose your side, Aelis. Dawn will come, and with it, your truth. As he turned to leave, the torch sputtered, casting us into near darkness. I stood alone, the weight of his words crushing me. The Resistance's ultimatum loomed, Seymour's trap tightened, and Kaler's protection was a fragile shield against the storm. My mission demanded his death, but my heart traitorous, reckless whispered another vow, one I could never keep. The price of betrayal. 2 weeks after the trial, the cathedral's underbelly swallowed me whole. The year 1278 had carved its mark in frost and fear, and I, Aelis, navigated the damp stone tunnels beneath the fortress, my steps echoing like a traitor's heartbeat. My mission to drive my dagger into Duke Kaler's heart had crumbled under the weight of his touch, his words, his maddening protection. You saved me, Aelis, but for whose sake goddess, or yours? His question from the trial hall haunted me, a chain binding me to him. Tonight, the Resistance's ultimatum forced my hand: kill Kaler by dawn, or they debrand me a traitor and offer my head to Seymour. But as I slipped into Kaler's chambers, my dagger felt heavier than ever, its blade reflecting not purpose but doubt. The hidden passage opened into his private quarters, a cavern of dark oak and flickering candlelight. Tapestries of war and faith hung like silent judges, their threads glinting in the glow. Kaler stood by a table, his back to me, his black gold cloak discarded, revealing a linen shirt stretched taut over his broad shoulders. Maps and letters littered the table, their edges curling like secrets. I froze in the shadows, my breath shallow, the dagger cold in my palm. One thrust, and my mission would end. One thrust, and I'd lose him forever. He turned, as if sensing the air shift, his gray-blue eyes locking onto mine. Aelis, he said, his voice low, a command wrapped in velvet. I wondered when you'd come. His calm unnerved me, as if he expected my blade, my betrayal, all along. I stepped into the light, my cloak falling open, the dagger gleaming in my hand. You knew, I whispered, my voice trembling with rage and something softer, something dangerous. You've always known, haven't you? He didn't flinch, didn't reach for the sword at his side. Instead, he leaned against the table, his gaze steady, piercing. I know you're no sister, Aelis. I know the Resistance sent you to kill me. His words were a blade, cutting through my lies, but his tone held no anger, only a weary certainty. Yet here you are, hesitating. Why? My grip tightened on the dagger, the steel biting into my palm. Don't play games, Kaler. You're the Church's dog, their weapon. My orders are clear. But my voice cracked, betraying the storm within. His protection in the trial, his touch in the snow, they fractured my resolve, and now I stood on the edge of a precipice, unsure if I'd fall or leap. He stepped closer, his boots soft on the stone floor, the candlelight casting his shadow over me like a cloak. Orders? He murmured, his voice a low rumble. Or chains? You're no freer than I am, Aelis. He stopped inches away, close enough for me to feel the heat of him, the scent of leather and ink. I'm not the Church's dog. I'm its betrayer. My breath caught, the dagger wavering in my hand. What? The words slipped out, sharp and desperate. His eyes held mine, and for the first time, I saw the truth, a man not bound by faith but breaking it. I've been feeding the Resistance for months, he said, his voice steady but laced with pain. The church's corruption runs deeper than you know, land stolen, lives crushed, all in God's name. I've seen their ledgers, their deals with foreign lords. I'm no saint, Aelis, but I'm done being their blade. I staggered back, the dagger clattering to the floor. The world tilted, my mission unraveling like a tapestry torn apart. You're lying, I hissed, but my heart screamed otherwise. His words aligned with the resistance's whispers, the secret's ID glimpsed in stolen letters. If he was their ally, then my blade was aimed at the wrong heart. Am I? He knelt, picking up my dagger, his fingers brushing the blade as if it were a lover's hand. He offered it back, hilt first, his eyes daring me to take it. Strike, Aelis. Finish your mission. Or join me. The air thickened, the candle's flames trembling as if holding their breath. I took the dagger, my fingers brushing his, a spark igniting where our skin met. His touch was a tether, pulling me toward a choice I wasn't ready to make. Join you? I whispered, my voice raw. You asked me to betray everything, my oath, my people, for you? Not for me, he said, his voice low, urgent. For the truth. The church will burn this kingdom unless we stop it. Together. He stepped closer, his hand cupping my face, his thumb tracing my jaw. The touch was forbidden, electric, a sin I couldn't resist. I've seen your heart, Aelis. It's not as cold as your blade. My resolve shattered, the dagger slipping from my fingers to the floor. I leaned into his touch, my eyes closing, the world narrowing to the warmth of his hand, the pulse of his breath. You're my ruin, I murmured, the words a confession, a curse. I was sent to kill you, Kaler, but I can't. Then don't. His voice was a whisper, a prayer, as he pulled me closer, his forehead resting against mine. The candles cast our shadows as one, a fleeting union in the dark. For a moment, we were no duke, no assassin, just two souls caught in a storm of faith and betrayal. A sharp knock broke the spell, the door creaking open. I pulled back, my heart racing, as a guard's voice called, "My lord, Lady Aelina demands an audience." Kaler's face hardened, but before he could respond, I glimpsed a shadow beyond the door, Aelina, her eyes glinting in the torchlight, watching us. My stomach twisted. She'd seen too much, and her betrayal would be swift. Kaler turned to me, pressing a small iron key into my hand, its edges biting my palm. "This opens the Resistance's safe house," he whispered, his voice urgent. "Find them. Tell them I'm with you. We'll fight the church together." His eyes held mine, a vow unspoken. "But if you run, Aelis, I'll find you." I nodded, clutching the key, my heart a battlefield of loyalty and longing. As he moved to confront Aelina, I slipped back into the tunnel, the dagger abandoned on the floor. The resistance awaited, but so did Seymour's spies, and Aelina's wrath would light the fuse. I'd chosen Kaler not as a lover, not yet, but as an ally in a war I no longer understood. But as the tunnel's darkness swallowed me, a new fear gripped me. Betrayal had a price, and I wasn't sure whose blood would pay it.